Okay, can I have everybody's attention, please? Thank you all. Welcome. Let me just read a quick statement. This is a joint public hearing which will be held by the Intergovernmental Relations, Municipal Operations, and Municipal Regulations Committee. It's Monday, October 7th, 2024, and it's a little after 7:10 p.m. to discuss the special town meeting articles that are listed on the various committees' agendas. All the agendas are up on the table if you need one for the separate committees. In accordance with Chapter 2, the Acts of 2023, which extends the Governor's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until March 31, 2025, this meeting will be conducted both in person and virtually via Google Meets. This meeting is being broadcast live on SMAC TV, also being recorded and may be rebroadcasted over SMAC, which is StoughtonTV.com, and or recorded for later broadcast. It can also be viewed live streaming at StoughtonTV.com. You just click on the government box for the government channel that's right in the middle of your screen. To participate via the internet or telephone, I'll just read out the Google Meets URL, which is KBQZHRHHZD. And the phone number to join is 281-617-1371. And then you enter the PIN, which is 273-226-57#. You must enter the pound after those numbers. So the way this is going to operate here, it's a joint meeting with the three different committees that I explained. First, we're going to need to call the meetings to order. We'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have to take roll call by committee to ascertain to make sure we have enough necessary members for a quorum to proceed with each meeting. As you probably know, Intergovernmental Relations Committee has a total of 8 members, so we need 5 to have a quorum. Municipal Operations Committee has 8 members. We need 5 to have a quorum. Municipal Regulations Committee actually has 9. I did appoint someone, Joe Piana. I don't know if Joseph's here. Joe, did you get sworn in? Yes. Okay, so we have 9, but we still need 5 for a quorum. I asked the other precinct chairs if they could, put the word out that I have an appointment from each IGR committee and Municipal Ops Committee to make an appointment, and nobody stepped up for that at this point in time. So there's 2 openings for those committees, one per committee, I should say. But Mark Tisdale, where are you? Mark, hope you don't mind. Can I mention Article 4 at this point in time? Okay, at this point, Mark Tisdale, the Assistant Town Manager, sent me an email. Article 4, which is entitled Combined Water and Sewer Enterprise Funds, Enterprise Accounts, will not be heard this evening as it will be withdrawn at the special town meeting. So there's no need or reason to hear the Article 4 this evening. So if you're here just for that, you can stay, or you can say goodnight to us, as Cynthia just said. So at this point in time, if you can please rise if you are able, and let's recite the pledge together. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, we do have 3 different committees here this evening. So right now, Cynthia, you want to take roll call on your committee? Cynthia, I'll ask Cynthia Walsh, Precinct 3, to take roll call on the Municipal Operations Committee. Some people are online.
Donna Flynn.
Yes, here.
John DeStefano.
Yes, I'm here.
Cynthia Walsh is here. Scott Heller. Eileen McGuire.
Here.
+1-350-350-8311.
Francis Rudiniti.
Rutinity, yes, I'm here.
Winchell Laguerre.
I think I saw him.
He's on the call, but he's muted.
Winchell, can you unmute yourself? Turn on your microphone. Okay, I do see him. Let's mark him present for the time being.
And Janice McKenna.
Okay, I don't see her online.
Well, I think 7 is going to be more than adequate. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Oh, thank you very much, Cynthia Walsh. Okay, so Muni Ops does have a quorum to proceed this evening. Intergovernmental relations, I'll do a roll call vote. I apologize for maybe, I can tell you some of these names might be a little difficult for me. From Precinct 1, Alcaviade Petropoulos. Martha Sampson. Jennifer Sears. Thank you. Alicia Rinaldi. I think she's going to be out of town. Let me just double check. Lindsay Weber. Thank you. Janice Schneider. She might be coming late. Janai Mungal Singh.
Present.
Thank you. Janai, can you help me with your last name's pronunciation, please?
You got it right.
Oh, thank you. All right. Appreciate that. And Frank Lyons.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I only see 4. They're not going to be able to open up their meeting this evening right now. All right. Next up is Municipal Regulations Committee. Robert Desmond. Saw him online here a minute ago.
I'm here.
All right, thank you. Bob? Brian Butler?
Here.
Thank you. John Rock?
Correct.
David Billow?
Here.
Thank you. Peter Machula?
That's me.
Thank you. Matthew Medina?
Here.
Thank you. Marina Riaz?
I'm here.
Thank you. How do you pronounce your last name, Marina?
Ryan's.
Ryans?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sandy, did you?
And Michael Hardman. Thank you. Well, municipal regulations is a full complement of people here. Let me just stand up and give you a round of applause. Thank you very much for everybody attending this evening. That's great. All right. I was going to ask IGR to go first since they only have a couple articles this evening, but they don't have a complement yet. They don't have a quorum.
If it's joint hearing and one group has a quorum, it's legal. They just can't vote. They can hear the article and ask questions.
Okay, but let me just, 1 second, let me confer with Cynthia here for a minute. That article's withdrawn, so they only have these 2 articles. It's not really joint, but can we still do joint?
So we can hear the articles, it's just that
Okay.
they can't vote.
Okay. All right, we're going to proceed with the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Please take the seats up here. Whoever's present. Is anybody here that's present? Let me see. Oh, they're all online. There's 4 members. Jennifer Sears, are you online? Oh, okay. Just grab one of these seats right in the middle. I'm going to ask for IGR to go first because they have 2 articles to hear, Article 6 and Article 12. Yes? Yes. Just IGR right now. Okay, what's your name? Sure, Lindsay, go ahead. Grab a seat. Janai, you're online, right? And Frank Lyons, you're online. So there's 4. All right, since there's not a quorum, but we can ask questions on this. So what we're going to do first, and I apologize, there's a lot of 3 committees here. We haven't done a joint meeting since, I think, COVID. So we're going to get through this evening pretty easily. And so we're going to hear the presentation from the presenters on each article, Article 6 and Article 12. Article 6, I'll just say it's National Grid easement located on town-owned property. It has some parcel numbers there that you can hear. And Article 12, the FAA lease agreement. So after the presenters make their presentation, make their case, the questions will come first from the committee members. And then after they're completed with their questions, then we'll open up to the public. And anybody from the other committees can ask too. Okay, any questions you want. I would just ask people who are not on the IGR committee, please limit your time for about 3 minutes so we can get through this evening. All right, everybody okay with that? Hearing no objections, we're going to proceed. Thank you all. All right, this is for the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Mark, could you introduce yourself to the committee?
Of course. Thank you, Bob. Mark Tisdale, Assistant Town Manager. Would you like me to do a little presentation here?
Sure, go right ahead.
In front of you tonight is the easement for National Grid. It's pretty much a housekeeping item. They come to us for many easements for different purposes, for utility poles, things of that nature. This one's an easement. They already have an easement on a town-owned piece of property that has our pump station off Atkinson Avenue. They're just adding an underground electric line to it, and they're asking to reformalize the easement to include that underground electric line on a parcel they already have an easement on. That's pretty much a housekeeping item.
You all set?
All set. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions from the committee? Okay, any question from the committee, that the people online? Janai
I have
or
a
Frank?
question.
Frank Lyons?
I have a question.
Sure, Janai, go right ahead.
How long would this work take to complete?
Usually an underground electric line takes less than a month to install, the actual construction period.
Does it involve digging up any of the main roads surrounding or just on the easement?
That's actually a great question, and that's the benefit of this, is we don't have to dig up roads or put utility poles in roads. It's an underground electric line that stays out of the road.
Thank you.
Are you all set, Janai?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. Frank, any questions since you're online?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Thank you, Frank. All right. That's it. I should ask for the public. Anybody from the public? Any other committee members that would like to ask any questions? Mr. Tisdale? This is on Article 6, the National Grid easement located on town-owned parcel, map 61, lot 59. Hearing none? Anybody online that's other committee members? I see no hands raised. Okay, we're going to move on. The next article for Mr. Tisdale is for the IGR committee also, Article 12, the FAA lease agreement. Mark?
Again, Mark Tisdale, Assistant Town Manager. Excuse me. This is again a housekeeping item. It's a federal agreement we have for a 20-year lease. The structure's already there. The structure's off West Street. There's a nice map in your backup information that shows you exactly where it is. It's actually kind of unique. I had to do a little research on this myself because I didn't really know. So I researched it, saw it. It's a small building that has a fence around it, and it has a communication tower on it for all the airplanes that go to the Norwood Airport. It sends them a signal to know exactly where they are. They call it an outer marker location. Again, the structure's already there. This is just a new 20-year lease. If, again, based on our town council, is something that we have to accept as a lease.
You all set, Mark?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Anytime, Bob.
Any questions from the Intergovernmental Relations Committee? Okay, thank you. Anybody online from IGR? I'll give you a minute. Okay, thank you all. Okay, members of the public, any questions? Please come up, identify yourself, use a microphone.
Thanks. Don't forget that green button.
Brian Butler, Precinct 2. I see at the end of the first line, it says the lease would have a term that exceeded 3 years. What's the end point? Is it reevaluated at the 3-year point? How long do you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. That's just the terms of the lease. It's reevaluated.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm out.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody else from the public? Oh, Ms. Cynthia Walsh. Could you identify yourself, please?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street, Precinct 3, Chair of Municipal Operations. I won't list the other committees. It's a lease. Do we get any rent?
No.
No, I previously, a previous town manager fought this, and it's the federal government, folks.
Right.
Thank you, Cynthia. Anybody else from the public? Okay, hearing none. All right. We don't have a quorum on IGR, so I'm just going to say, if everybody agrees from IGR, we'll close the public meeting. Okay? And if Janice Schneider or somebody else shows up, we can ask for a vote. She has the documentation, so she should be okay. All right, otherwise, we'll have to report it that way. All right, thank everybody and thank the public for bearing with this. Next up, when are we here for municipal operations? If Muni Ops would like to come up and sit in the chairs up here, we can grab some more chairs. There's some people online. Okay, Scott and Cynthia, I think you two are the only municipal operations people that. Is there anybody else back there? Municipal ops? No, he's with municipal regulations. All right, at this point in time, we have to have a elected new chair since we reorganized, so we had an organizational meeting last April. Let me do roll call. You want to do roll call first?
We already did
You
it.
did that, okay, you're right.
We have 7 out of 8.
Okay. You want to open your meeting and by vote?
I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Somebody has to first it.
Oh,
I can't make a motion.
so what do I say?
Just say, so made.
Go ahead. Go for it.
That's what you have to
So
say.
named.
So made, thank you.
Yeah.
And a second from the wall there.
Second.
Thank you all.
Okay. So we'll have to do a roll call for that. Donna Flynn?
Yes, here.
John DeStefano?
Yes. Yeah.
Cynthia votes yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Here.
Fran?
Yes.
Winchell?
Here.
You have to vote yes or no, Winchell.
Yes.
Okay. So that opens a public hearing. You wanted to reorganize?
Yes.
So I can't handle that because I'm the chair.
I'll take it, yep. This is for a chair of the Municipal Operations Committee. Do I have nominations?
I nominate Cynthia Walsh.
Okay, thank you. There's no second needed. Anybody else?
I second that.
Okay, thank you. Any other nominations? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
Second.
Yes.
Well, someone's going to make that.
Yes, motion made.
Okay, John, do you want to second that?
Yes.
Thank you. Just, I'm going to do a quick roll call vote and just say yes. Donna Flynn?
Yes.
Thank you. John DeStefano?
Yes.
Cynthia Walsh?
Yes.
Scott Heller?
Yes.
Eileen McGuire?
Yes.
Fran Brutinetti?
Yes.
Thank you. Winchell LaGuerre?
Yes.
Thank you all. Okay.
Thank you. I can,
Congratulations, Cynthia.
I don't know if it's 25 years or 30.
Okay.
I started young.
Well, thank you for your service anyway.
Nominations for vice chair?
Hearing none, you want to just move on?
And then I guess yeah, we haven't had a vice chair for a while, and we definitely don't have a secretary. So we'll get into the meat of the public hearing with Article 5, Page Street discontinuance easements.
It's me again, Mark Tisdale, Assistant Town Manager. This is, again, I hate to say it's just another housekeeping item. The county's in the process of discontinuing a county layout, county road. And a condition of that is if there's any town utilities or in those, those ways, those right-of-ways, that we must obtain easements around that. And that's a vote at town meeting necessary to do that. And that's it.
Any questions from the committee?
Yes, I have a question. John DeStefano, Precinct 2. I haven't been down that area for a while. Is there any houses on that street, or is it just a street?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, John. There's no houses in that particular area. It's mostly commercial, industrial buildings. And in that particular area, there's only one industrial building in that stretch.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Any questions from the general public? Okay, we're going to move on to Article 7, roadway paving. Paul, would you introduce yourself to the audience in general, please?
Of course. Paul Jaffoon, Public Works.
Proceed with your presentation.
Sure. Thank you.
Welcome.
The last two town meeting has been gracious enough to approve large amounts of funding to improve, repave our roadways that a lot of them are in desperate need to be repaired. This is also the streets that show up on this year's plan as well as last year's happen in conjunction with underground utility work. We'll do the underground work and then we'll pave thereafter. And the idea is to hopefully not to have to pave these streets for another 20, 25 years. Most of these are neighborhood roads that really could use work, as our main roads are normally funded through our Chapter 90 program.
Would you give us the cost and where you expect the money to come from, please?
The estimated cost with the contingency of 5% is just over $2 million. The funding, I believe, would be coming from a bond, from borrowing.
Because you mentioned Chapter 90.
I did. The main roads, the major thoroughfares in town, the work on those roads normally comes through Chapter 90. So this would be in addition to roads that we do within that program.
Before town meeting, it might be a good idea to, if they aren't already, put all these proposed streets on your website. You might get a few votes from people that live on those streets.
Yes, thank you. We intend to do that. We're going to have color-coded maps also for town meeting and to put on the website to show exactly what we have done the last couple of years and what we plan to do with this funding.
People like fair warning. Most of us enjoy a street that's well paved, but we don't like the interruption. And it's good to know when and if you get the money, when you propose to do streets so people can make plans on. Any questions from members of municipal operations for Mr. Jaffoon?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes, John.
John Stefano, Precinct 2. Mr. Terhune, I don't know if you remember, but I asked you a while ago to find out if Jones Terrace is considered a public street, and you never got back to me on that. Because if it is a public street, then it should be considered to be repaved. Can you get back to me with that information?
I apologize to you, sir. Jones Terrace is a public street.
Okay.
We certainly look at any and all streets, and we'll take a closer look at that one too.
Yes. Well, I mentioned that because I live at Walnut Park, and now, is that considered a public street all the way into the property or to a certain point?
I believe it's only to a certain point, but I can get you that answer as soon as I have it definitively.
Okay. Yeah, I can ask you for an answer when we have town meeting. Okay. Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Anything else, John?
Nope. Thank you.
Anyone else from municipal operations? with a
Yes,
question?
Cynthia. Yes.
Scott.
Scott Heller, Precinct 4. Paul, first of all, awesome job. I told you earlier, I appreciate all the work. You did my street. It's awesome. I'm curious how like, when we had town meeting, I think it was this past, in May, you guys had a big budget. I can't remember what meeting it was, but like, how did you do, like, with your progress against that? Like, where do you stand? I feel like it was like $4 million or something the last time. Is that accurate or?
Not entirely. It was
Yeah.
last fall.
Is that, yeah.
It was, so Mr. Coulter last year decided, the most prudent thing to do is to ask for the money in the fall so we don't miss the construction. So we're not delayed 18 months and we can start within 6 months.
Sure.
And that was about $2 million also. I believe there were 23 streets on that list. I believe we've done all but 8. And the reason they are not done is we're still doing the underground water main work on those streets. And then once that gets completed, we'd like the streets to go through the winter and settle and everything. And then we'll come back in the spring and complete the paving.
And do that. Okay, cool. So that money is still set aside for those streets that won't cut into this?
That's correct.
Nice. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from municipal operations members? Any questions from the general audience? Thank you, Mr. Jaffoon.
Thank you.
Article 10, construction of Halloran Multisport Arena supplemental funding. Thank you.
Matt Koshan, Recreation Director. So this is supplemental funding for the Halloran Park Multi-Sport Court. This project was voted on of annual town meeting 22. We had some unexpected delays in the permitting and design phase of this project. Finally got all that completed. We got it out to bid in March. And numbers came in higher than expected. Obviously, as everyone knows, the last couple of years, there's been escalation in construction costs. So this is the supplemental funding to get that project completed. It is, as I believe they say, shovel ready. The project will be over at Halloran Park, and nothing has changed from spring town meeting of 2022. It's the same project. It would pretty much be 2 basketball courts surrounded by street hockey boards, making a multi-sport court. And again, there will not be any lights on this court. It will be in addition to the basketball court already there. Like I said, wrapped in street hockey boards. And we expect to go out to bid. I believe bids are due next week, so we will have a number and be able to lock that in contingent on fall town meeting. That is all I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions from municipal operations members?
Yeah, Scott, I do. Scott Heller, Precinct 4. Why aren't there lights going in?
No lights there, out of respect for the neighborhood. Really is a big thing. If this is something that we see, we have a lot of groups looking at permanent play, and neighbors are on board. We can look at putting lights there, but we're keeping it pretty simple to start with.
That's cool. Okay.
Anyone else from municipal operations? Anyone from the general audience? Well, I guess we're on to Article. Thank you, Matt. We're on to Article 15, proposed motion for town meeting, South School project, petitioned article. Will a petitioner please come forward?
Well, actually, you want to do a joint. You want that one too? You want it? Cynthia, well, we can do that after we do Article 15.
What did I do?
No, you did nothing wrong. The question was, Matt had a question. Article 11, he's here for that too. But that's a joint meeting. Once we're done with Article 15, we
Yeah,
can do
we'd
Article-
like to make your life easier, but we can only do them as they're on the agenda. So, are you, Lori, is it Jakes or Jack?
It's Jakes.
Jakes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll hear your presentation.
All right.
You seem to have a companion.
I do. This is Megan Teixeira.
Well, I know you're at 6 Harris Circle, and where is Megan?
115 Connell.
Yeah.
115 Connell Drive.
Okay, ladies, your presentation, please.
My name is Lori Jakes, and I'm a Stoughton resident, a taxpayer, and a parent of 2 daughters who attend South Elementary School. My daughter Libby in 4th grade and Sydney is a 1st grader. I have served as the president of the South Elementary School PTO and continue to be active and involved in that community. Sitting with me at the table is Megan Teixeira, another parent who has 2 children who also attend South School in 3rd grade and kindergarten. Megan also serves as co-chair of CPAC. We are here this evening to ask town meeting, who supported a new elementary school project with 4 prior votes and voted overwhelmingly to support this project just last spring, to reaffirm their commitment and demonstrate to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, also known as the MSBA, that Stoughton will support this project, because without this reaffirmation, it's quite possible this town won't see MSBA support for an elementary school or any other school project in the foreseeable future. As a petitioner, I represent close to 2,000 Stoughton residents and taxpayers who to date have signed this petition. That number continues to grow every day with the support of many of the individuals who are here in this room. But this really isn't about any of us who are here tonight. By the time a new school is built, most of us will no longer have elementary school-age children. This request is really about the future of elementary education for all Stoughton families and the value of education to our community. I want to state up front that neither Megan nor I are members of the school building committee, nor have we been on the committee, and we have not been involved with the design process for the school, other than to attend a couple of informational sessions advertised about the project. However, if there are any specific questions about the building that you would like to have answered tonight, Superintendent Baeta and the chair of the school committee, TJ Recupero, are in attendance and will be happy to do so. South Elementary School was built in 1958 as a first-class facility for that time, with 14 classrooms, administrative offices, and a cafetorium. In 1967, 6 regular classrooms, 2 special-purpose classrooms, a library, and a gymnasium were added to the building. Since that time, so in the last 57 years, there have only been 6 major renovations, including replacement of the asphalt, a partial roof replacement, a partial window replacement, and updates to the phone system. The capacity for this building stands at approximately 225 students, without space for many of the support services students need and use today. For the context, the enrollment at the end of last year was 317, far beyond the school's original design. So in its current state, South Elementary School is overcrowded and in dire condition. There is no longer a library, as it has been turned into classrooms. Music class happens on the stage of the cafetorium, sometimes during a lunch period, and band class may happen on the stage, outside of the building, or in the teacher's lunchroom. Storage closets have been transitioned into office spaces, so a closet that once held art supplies is now a place where teachers interact with students. In one of the offices/closets, you can see nails coming through the ceiling that are apparently needed for the roof. The current school was built and renovated prior to the Americans with Disabilities Act and is therefore not ADA compliant. If you have been in the school, one of the first things you will see are 2 very steep ramps that someone in a wheelchair would need to maneuver to get from one floor to the next. You would need to acknowledge that it would be almost impossible to do that without assistance. These ramps have slopes that vary from 23 to 26%, well above the maximum limit allowed. In addition to the ramps, there is also a lift that goes between floors to the 2nd and 3rd grade wing. Imagine being a 2nd or 3rd grade student in a wheelchair with the only way to get from this part of the building to the cafetorium, to the gym, to any other part of the school, and back is to use a lift that exits into a classroom, thereby causing disruption anytime that student needs to move throughout the building. When it rains like it did today, you can expect to walk through the school and see rain coming through various spots, including the ceiling and the plexiglass windows. Today, I expect the custodian spent his day monitoring all of the leaks throughout the building, including in classrooms and in the gym. In fact, I was briefly at the school this morning and asked just how many leaks there would be. The response I received was, a lot. Just walk through the school and look up at the ceilings, and you can see the brown water-stained ceiling tiles throughout. Imagine being a 3rd grader who walks into school on the first day of MCAS, walks into their classroom, and learns they can't take a test at their desk because there was a rainstorm and water is leaking all over their desk through a light fixture. That is a true story. That happened. Now, for those of you who don't know, the 3rd grade is when MCAS are taken for the first time. Having a child who just went through that last year, I can speak to just how nerve-wracking that this time can be for many students. So walking in on this, on the first morning of these important tests, was no doubt stress-inducing for this child and probably affected how they performed. There is asbestos in the floor tiles and most likely mold throughout. I know Dr. Baeta has assured us that it has been tested and well within the appropriate limits, but I have also heard from parents who have shared that their child's asthma acts up throughout the school year. And finally, in this day and age, where you never know when you turn on the TV and hear, when you never know when you will turn on the TV and hear of another school shooting, the South School lacks security. These are just a few examples of what is currently wrong with the school. A new elementary school would fix these issues and allow for an improved educational experience for our children. I know the proposed school design has been described as extravagant, but in fact, it is not. It is simply designed to meet the modern needs for education and security in the 21st century and beyond, with the intention of lasting for at least the next 50 years, and probably much longer. Moreover, the majority of the elements being described as extravagant have an educational function and are reimbursable by the MSBA, not paid for by our taxpayers. Elementary education today emphasizes STEM, project-based and collaborative learning, and face-to-face interaction. Things like breakout spaces, dedicated science labs, outdoor classroom space, and small group assembly are required components to meet MSBA's goals in funding excellence in education. In 2024, over 20% of our students are on some form of IEP and require support services that no one could have envisioned in a 1967 building. It would behoove us to take advantage of getting modern amenities for our students to thrive, using the state's money to do so. Further, if we are unable to secure the debt exclusion necessary to fund this project, we will also lose an almost $48 million grant from the MSBA. This is free money. Free money that we ultimately pay into, but free money nonetheless. The MSBA would take that money that has already been collected and reserved for Stoughton and put it towards another school in another town. We would then need to be invited by the MSBA to submit another statement of interest. At the very least, it would be another 5 years before this would happen, if at all. And in that 5 years, construction costs will continue to rise, increasing the amount of money needed to construct a new building. But there is also no guarantee that we would ever be invited back, and this would cause major ramifications for future school building projects, including the O'Donnell Middle School. Finally, I'd like to take a moment to address the failed June 11th vote. The results of this election represented a very small subset of the voting population in Stoughton. From the time MSBA formalized their support of this project to the day of the vote, there was not enough time to get the facts out, and voters were not only misled, but also ill-informed on the cost, benefit, and need for this project. Those in opposition to this project, and I'd go so far to say in opposition to anything that supports education, presented misinformation to the public. Among other items, this misinformation included a higher tax impact for taxpayers, and also suggested by voting no, taxes would not increase. Make no mistake, there is a cost in the very near future for Stoughton's elementary school buildings, and it's significant. The question is whether we want to take advantage of the money that MSBA has already set aside for Stoughton, or bear the cost without MSBA funding and regret the choice in future years when we inevitably learn that our patchwork solution did not correct the problem. If we spend the next 6 months getting into the community and explaining the need for the school project, as well as the cost for doing this versus the cost of not doing, and the town still doesn't support this debt exclusion, we will at least know that it was based on accurate information. By not allowing a revote and moving forward with the current failed debt exclusion vote, we will lose almost $48 million in funding. This is not a fiscally prudent decision, in my opinion. So who then will pay for these repairs? It will come back to us as the taxpayers, thereby increasing our taxes. And most likely the repairs to the South and Wilkins School will cost just as much as the cost of a new consolidated elementary school. I'm certainly not an expert, but in my opinion, South School's days are numbered. Is it possible to continue using the school short-term while the new building is being built? Yes, most likely. But for longer than 2+ years needed to build a new school, probably not. At least not without significant repairs that, when all is said and done, are most likely not worth it. And if the decision is made to close South School, the 300+ students who attend the school at any given time will need to be redistricted and bused to other elementary schools in town. So now, instead of approximately 1,500 to 1,700 students spread throughout 5 elementary schools, they will be spread throughout 4, causing at the very least significant capacity issues. And these 4 are most likely already at capacity. That means substantial money will be needed to build and maintain modulars at these sites, creating a subpar solution for our students. And let me repeat, at the cost of the taxpayers. I'm here tonight not just as a parent, but also a citizen who invested in this town, built a family here, and wants nothing more than for Stoughton to prosper. I moved to Stoughton 11 years ago before I had children, but knowing that one day my children would be educated in Stoughton public school system, because I believe in public education. I'm a product of it. From the time I started kindergarten in the late 70s to my master's degree almost 25 years ago, I believe that all children deserve to have the best educational experience that we can offer them. Not only is it our civic duty, but as a town, we owe it to them to provide the best infrastructure to do this, and that is not currently happening at South School. And beyond that, I would ask each of you, what type of example do you want to set for future generations? One day, the children who are currently attending South School or any of our other elementary schools will be the ones responsible for our town. They will be our town meeting reps, our select board members, and the taxpayers. Do we want them to look back at this time and think we didn't care about them, their welfare, their experience, their education? I've spoken to many people about this project over the last couple of months, and those who know and or attended South School tell me it's been decades that something should have been done. Well, I think now is the time for us to come together as a community and rectify the problem. If for no other reason, do it for our precious children. Thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Moderator, how many minutes do people get at town meetings to make their presentation?
The presenters have 10 minutes.
You just keep that in mind. You don't want to be cut off in the middle of your argument. Ms. Tashara, did you have anything to add?
As the co-chair of CPAC, which is the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, besides being a parent at the South School, it's just another area in which we're failing our students. 20% of the kids in Stoughton Public Schools have, as Lori mentioned, an individual education plan or a 504, which is another form of accommodation. And right now, those children are being met in hallways with people crossing them at all times. There's no privacy to the support provided to them. We're doing the best that they can with the spaces that are provided. In addition to that, we talk about the facility itself and how distracting and dysregulating school in general can be. And then you add on the physical conditions of that building, how difficult it is to maintain the heat or any of those conditions with the plexiglass windows and the rain coming in. So it is just a lot to ask of very young children to try to meet their educational goals in a facility that is subpar.
Thank you. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to call forward the superintendent and the head of the committee and make sure they have chairs. Ladies, stay where you are. So, because I'm sure that the folks that have questions won't be able to be answered by the two presenters, but you perhaps will have the answers. Thank you, Peter.
Let me just remind you, don't forget it's on the article.
Well, okay, Mr. Moderator?
Right, it's not on
Just have a seat and relax, I guess.
Okay.
Is there anyone on the Municipal Operations Committee that has a question? Scott?
Scott Heller, Precinct 4. So I'm a huge proponent of this. I have collected signatures for this as well. And I was pretty dismayed with the misinformation campaign that happened. I was kind of in shock, actually. I have kids in the school
Do you have a
system.
question?
Yeah, I do. I'm just leading up to that. I know I've heard, and you stated that it comes back to the taxpayer no matter what has to happen. I would love to see like that slide somewhere of this is what it's actually going to cost if we do the project. This is what happens if we don't. This is what that cost is, because I've heard that argument in plenty of places, but I just don't know that. Like, I don't have that information that I could counter that somewhere. So is that possible that you can get that information? Do you have that somewhere? Is that readily available?
Sure, we do have that, and we can compile it in a pretty manageable form, the form of one slide.
Yeah.
If I can, in 20 seconds, tell you what it is. So to just base repair the South School building, which means just making it watertight, bringing it up to code, and bringing it ADA compliant, is about 36 million, right in there. When I say about, that's because that was an estimate provided a year ago now. That probably has gone up some. And that also, that's just construction costs. That doesn't include soft costs of design, an architect, doesn't include project management, doesn't include insurance, doesn't include contingency, and it only vaguely includes a number for modular classrooms that we'd have to temporarily educate kids in, which Superintendent Baeta can tell you. So that cost total, if you add 15% onto that 35 million, that's about around $50 million, right? Without MSBA money, just for base repair. The project cost to Stoughton here is $66 million. 5% of that is contingency, so it's not a real $66 million, it's closer to 60. And then we do know, Superintendent Baeta will back me up on this, we do know that we can achieve cost savings on a couple of components and probably achieve another 4, 5, even 6 million with some imagination overall. We can't change the project now, but we can achieve that. My point is, and my 20 seconds is over, but the cost is comparable to just repairing the school, which will, by the way, end us up with less of a school because we'll have to steal from classroom space to make it ADA compliant. We'll have less of a school for just as much money. In the new school project, we'll have a 600-student school, 550-student design, but it'll have the capacity for 600 students for pretty much the same money. And I'm using pretty much loosely, I apologize for that, but in the grand scheme of things, to take care of our school needs, our elementary school needs for the next 50 years, at least 20% of them, 40% of them, right? Versus just fixing what we have and getting less for it. We can put that on a slide, and we will.
Yeah.
Okay, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, that was a question, right? Yes, I have a question. So in addition, to the taxpayer question again, do we have on that slide too the difference of what the taxpayer will pay? Can we get that and show that? Because I'm sure it's funded differently, right, somehow? Like, can we show that impact?
So if you're going to go through the MSBA process and try to do that, remember those numbers are going to come back to us from the MSBA as it pertains to the percentage. So the current percentage of what we're getting, approximately 42%, on all those things that can be reimbursed on through the grant process, those numbers will just drop significantly based on the type of either just a reno or a reno addition. Mm-hmm. Those numbers just plummet down, including also all the subsidies in terms of all the economically driven savings that you could have with any of the utilities and all that. So that number will just come down. It'll be proportional significantly, but you have to remember those numbers are not given by us to the MSBA. It's the reverse order. Once we give them the final design and process, then they give us right now the 42. I think one of the biggest dynamics about this process is the inability to try to communicate the best that you can. The questions you just ask are on www.stoughtonschools.org. Click on the building committee, and there's link upon link. And if you go to the schematic design one report, it's about 500 pages, but you'll see the proposed costs for a reno, an addition, a reno addition, and a new. And there's 12 different scenarios in play, from 225 kids to 515 kids. There's the cost for if you just need modulars at the South School while you're doing a reno addition or just a reno. It is detailed.
I think you've answered the question. Do you have other questions? We're getting a presentation here. We're not getting answers to the question.
Yeah,
If I could just say one thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. The article actually proposed motion for town meeting to see if the town will move to request that the select board schedule an election. That's how I read this article. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but.
Obviously, all this
Starting to talk about
information,
construction costs and everything. There's nothing
all this
yet.
information has to get out somehow, but that's not the purpose of
That's
this
correct. We
hearing.
could be here all night.
Sure. Yeah.
But I have a question, two questions related to the article. How much will a special election cost?
This is not slated to be a special election. This is slated to go on to the regular election in April, townwide.
That's good information. That answers my second question about the timing or when it would be. I interrupted.
Yeah, I was going to ask about an extension. Like, did we get the extension? We have an extension. We're cool with that?
The only reason why this is before you today to ask that it be a ballot question is that MSBA extended this to the next town election, regular election of the town, which happens to be in April.
All right.
Thank you. Anyone else on municipal operations with a question? Anyone in the general audience? Well, I think you've heard from at least one person the kind of information that you're going to have to somehow facilitate getting out there. And it's always nice to say, go to the website, but I can't imagine there's too many people that are going to read 500 pages of anything. If you were writing a novel, they'd tell you to cut it back. So that's up to you folks, that the people pro and the people con, to come up with a presentation that will work for their issue. Thank you for all of your efforts. I mean, I've collected signatures, and it's not an easy thing. And thank you, gentlemen, for helping us with some of Mr. Heller's questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all.
So, I guess what I will do now is ask the chair of municipal municipal regulations and his or her committee to come forward and join us for the joint hearing on Article 11.
And if I could just ask the Intergovernmental Relations Committee to stay with us online and in person too, because Janet Schneider did join online, so we'll be able to wrap that up after this meeting here. Thank you.
So, who is the chair?
John Rock was last year.
Okay, John.
Before we open this up, could Intergovernmental take its vote? Because I think it would be fast.
Sure. Could we have the question from Frank Lyons, a member of the Intergovernmental, was if IGR could take their vote. Janice Schneider, you're online, correct?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Are you, did you read the material?
Yes, I did.
Okay. We did have Mark Tisdale, the Assistant Town Manager, make a presentation. Article 4 is no longer being heard. They are going to withdraw that article, the combined water and sewer enterprise accounts.
Okay.
So we do have a quorum for IGR. And if everybody could just bear with me. If Jennifer Sears, you're present in the room here, I believe, and also Lindsay Weber, if over here, if you two gentlemen could just step up out of the seats and let them sit down here. I apologize for this process, but there's only one way to get this done.
Well, there's a second way, is finish all the hearings and then vote.
Well, they only have two articles. I don't think they want to.
They're administrative, and it's just two of them. This should go pretty quick. Thank you, Cynthia.
Well, quick better be 5 minutes.
Well, let's give them a moment, okay?
Well, it's just unfair to the people that are here for the other articles.
Well, how about if you just, give me a couple minutes to see how fast we can move along. Thank you very much, Cynthia. I appreciate your. All right, let's proceed. Joe Piana, could you step up and let someone else sit there? Just indulge me for a little bit because it is a joint public hearing. We're trying to get everything done at the same time. Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, let me just quickly take a roll call vote of the IGR committee. Jennifer Sears. Jennifer is present. Lindsay Weber. Present. Janice Schneider.
Present.
Thank you. Janai Munglesing.
Present.
Thank you. And Frank Lyons.
Present.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 present. That's a quorum. The testimony was given by the Assistant Town Manager. You should, I'm going to need a motion to open the public hearing
Motion to open the public hearing.
by Frank Lyons. Is there a second?
Second.
And who is that?
Janai Munglesing.
Thank you, Janai. All right, I'm just going to take a quick roll call vote. Just say yes. Jennifer Sears. Lindsay Weber.
Yes.
Janice Schneider.
Yes.
Janai Munglesing.
Yes.
And Frank Lyons.
Yes.
Okay, just to recap, the testimony was given by the Assistant Town Manager. Everybody obviously read the materials. It pretty much went with no real questions regarding the materials. It was just 2 articles being heard. Article 6, the National Grid easement located on town-owned parcel, map 6150, lot 59, and the Article 12 FAA lease agreement. Is there a motion to, the public hearing was held. Does anybody else from the public have any comments? Any questions? No. Any committee members have any questions, further questions? Okay, I'm kind of condensing this a little bit. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
By Frank Lyons. Is there a second to close the public hearing?
I second.
And that was by Lindsay Weber. All those in favor by roll call vote. Jennifer Sears? Yes. Lindsay Weber?
Yes.
Janice Schneider?
Yes.
Thank you. Janai?
Yes.
Thank you. Frank Lyons?
Yes.
The public hearing is now closed. Okay, anybody want to make a motion on the first article, Article 6? Usually the
Motion
motion.
on Article 6.
Yep, usually the motion goes, motion to recommend
Motion to recommend vote on Article 6.
approval of Article 6 to town meeting.
Approval. Yeah, approval of Article 6 for town meeting.
Okay, that was by Frank Lyons. Is there a second on that?
I second.
Who was that? I'm sorry, Lindsay, I wasn't looking up. Thank you. Okay, motions are made, seconded to approve Article 6, the recommended to town meeting for approval. By roll call vote, Jennifer Sears? Yes. Lindsay Weber?
Yes.
Janice Schneider?
Yes.
Janai Munglesing?
Yes.
And Frank Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. That went smoothly. Okay, do I have a motion on Article 12, motion to recommend FAA lease agreement for approval to town meeting?
Yeah, motion to approve FAA lease agreement to town meeting. Or whatever you just said.
No, I understand. Thank you, Frank, for bearing with me. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second is Jennifer Sears, right? Thank you, Jennifer. By roll call vote, Jennifer Sears? Lindsay Weber?
Yes.
Janice Schneider?
Yes.
Janai Munglesing?
Yes.
And Frank Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, can we have a motion to adjourn the Intergovernmental Relations Committee?
Motion to adjourn Intergovernmental Regulations Committee.
Is there a second? Seconded by Jennifer Sears. Motion to adjourn. By roll call vote, Jennifer Sears? Lindsay Weber? Janice Schneider,
Yes.
Janai Mungle
Yes.
and Frank Lyons.
Yes.
Thank you. Your Intergovernmental Relations Committee is now adjourned. Thank you very much for your participation. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody else's indulgence to this joint public hearing. Thank you all
Yeah,
very much.
Thank you, everybody, for letting us have a minute here. Actually, 4 minutes. Cynthia, I think we were 4 minutes.
I got 5, but I will.
Well, you have a wonderful evening. I don't want to take any more of your time.
Thank you. All right. Cynthia, I turn it back over to you.
Well, the Municipal Operations has already opened their public hearing, so we need a motion. Well, the chair of Municipal Regulations, you need to open the public hearing.
Okay, can I have a motion to open the public hearing for the Municipal Regulations Committee? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Municipal operations, we're not,
So we'll take a roll call. That's all right, I have my own, I remember, you know.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
Here it is.
All right, thank you. Bob Desmond?
Yes.
Brian Butler? Here. John Rock?
Yes.
David Billow?
Yes.
Peter Machulo?
Here.
Matthew Medina?
Yes.
Marina Ryant?
Yes.
Ryance?
Yes.
How do you pronounce that?
Brian's.
Ryance?
Yes.
Okay, and Michael Hardman? Okay. The public hearing is now open.
Okay, we're going to, this is a joint public hearing. So we'll have the petitioners come forward for Article 11, Recreational Conservation Restriction for Glen Echo Recreation Area. And it looks like they've had time to get to their seats. Would you introduce yourselves, please, to the audience and give us your presentation?
I'm Barry Kessler. I'm the Program Administrator for the Community Preservation Committee.
Matt Koshan, Recreation Director.
And this is an article to fund a conservation restriction for a small portion within the Glen Echo Conservation Area. When the town purchased the property, it was purchased for 2 separate uses. Most of the property was purchased for open space use, and this small, approximately 6-acre portion was purchased for recreational purposes. So it requires its own conservation restriction because any property purchased with CPA funds requires a conservation restriction as per Mass state law. So this will allow us to fund having a third party come in and administer and hold and administer this restriction. Because it's a conservation restriction, it has to be held separately. It can't be held by the town. It has to be held by an outside organization. And this is legally required, and so here we are asking for the funding.
So did you have anything to say, Matt? All right. And it looks like you said the estimated cost is $10,000?
$30,000.
I got new hearing aids, and you can see how well they're working, and new glasses are waiting till April. Have you got, Mr. Kastner, have you got any idea who this person will, or what group is going to come forward to take that restriction into hand?
Our thought was to get the funding available before we actually solicit people to come forward and do it. Some of the options are, for example, the local YMCA if they are interested. But the idea was to have the money available before we ask people to actually volunteer, well, not volunteer, but to be willing to accept this responsibility.
Thank you. Any other members of Municipal Operations with questions? I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, are there any questions from municipal regulation members?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dave Billow, Precinct 4. So of the $30,000, does all of that go to the holder, and is it paid as a lump sum? I see that the restriction's in perpetuity, so how would that work?
That's correct. It is paid at one time. It's not paid over a period of years. It is paid at one time for the organization to hold the conservation restriction.
And so in 100 years or 20 years, what are their responsibilities going to be that, do they have an active role to play?
The responsibilities are to check the property periodically, generally yearly, to make sure that the provisions of the conservation restriction are being complied with.
And how was $30,000 determined to be enough?
Well, we looked at what it cost us for the conservation restriction for the other acreage at Glen Echo, and that was approximately $22,000. We don't anticipate that this will use the entire $30,000. Any money that isn't spent will be returned to the CPA fund.
So just one final question. So someone already holds an easement for the rest of the property? And
that's correct.
Who is that?
That's the Wildlands Trust. Because this is a different kind of conservation restriction, they're not interested in this particular piece of it. It's an active recreation restriction, which is something they don't do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, quick question. John Rock, Precinct 3. So the 30 grand is to what? Do they have to do some paperwork, or is it lawyer fees, or what?
This is to compensate the organization that holds the restriction for whatever their costs are, including yearly reinspection and whatever attorney fees it costs them to review the document.
Okay, and it's
and the
forever,
responsibility
huh?
for holding it and being responsible for ensuring that it's enforced.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anyone in the general audience that has questions about this article? Yes, Mr. Murphy?
Peter Murphy, Precinct 2. You mentioned like the why to be responsible. Now, does that mean that it would come under their insurance, or is the town still responsible for insurance-wise on this property?
Yep, that's a good question. The town retains ownership of the property. So the insurance part of it, in terms of, for example, if someone is injured on the property, that's the town's responsibility. This is a third party who monitors the conservation restriction to make sure that its provisions are being complied with. So the town retains ownership of the property.
And to follow up, do we get some type of an annual report as far as?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what Wildlands Trust does, and so I expect the same from this organization as well.
And who does that report go to?
It goes to, the report that's filed every year will be filed most likely with the Select Board and Recreation, since they are the entities that control that portion of the property.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Elena Canis, Precinct 2. My question is, what happens if the YMCA decides after a certain amount of time that they no longer want to do this? What happens then?
They would be responsible for finding another organization. The commitment is, as long as the organization still exists, it is a permanent commitment. So unless they go out of business, I would think they would be responsible for finding someone to take their place, since they have signed on to this legal document.
Would there be an instance where we would have to pay another agency again for something, if something else happened and we needed a new person to take over?
That is a good question. I think that since this is something that third party would be permanently committing themselves to, I really think that the town would be involved in making sure that there was a transition. But I don't believe that there would be a separate fee paid by the town to another organization if that organization decided not to continue.
Anyone else? Anyone on the screens? Okay, I'd like a motion from a member of Municipal Operations to close our public hearing.
Motion is closed.
Second.
Okay, I'll just go through the, Donna Flynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Cynthia's yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Francis?
Yes.
Winchell?
Yes.
Now, thank you. So what do we do, Mr. Moderator? Wait through regulations?
Actually, if you people, if the Municipal Operations Committee is ready to make their recommendations and motions, you might as well, if Muni Regs doesn't mind, it'll only take a few minutes to go through them.
Okay.
Are you guys okay with that? Muni Regs, any objections?
My phone is about to go dead here.
Who is the dead phone person?
John DiStefano.
Oh, John?
He's with Muni Ops, so let's do Muni Ops. I don't hear any objections, so let's go ahead and,
Okay, I need a motion to open the municipal operations meeting.
Motion to open.
So made.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Donna?
Second. Yes.
John?
Yes.
Cynthia, yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Winchell?
Yes.
Okay. It looks like the first article would be, thank you, because 4 is going to be dismissed. Could I have a motion on Article 5, Page Street discontinuance easements?
Motion to move Article 5 to town meeting for approval.
you want a motion to recommend the town meeting?
Motion to recommend to town meeting Article 5.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Who seconded that?
John Stefano.
Thank you, John.
Okay, well, we have a motion to recommend approval. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Cynthia, yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Winchell?
Yes.
Okay. Could I have a motion on Article 7, roadway paving?
Motion to recommend Article 7 to town meeting.
We're recommending approval, right?
Yes, to recommend approval.
Second?
Got that.
Any second?
Second.
Good. Discussion? Okay, Donna?
Yes.
John?
No, you're like to try again.
Did you hear John?
No, I did not.
His phone may have died.
Cynthia, yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Winchell?
Yes.
Okay, could I have a motion on Article 10, construction of Halloran Multi-Sport Arena supplemental funding?
Motion to recommend approval to town meeting for Article 10.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we're recommending approval. Donna?
Yes.
John? Cynthia says yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Winchell?
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion on Article 15, proposed motion for town meeting, South School project petitioned article.
Motion to recommend approval to town meeting for Article 15.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Okay. Donna?
Yes.
John? Cynthia says yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Francis?
Yes.
Winchell?
Yes.
All right. And bringing up the rear, Article 11, recreational conservation restriction for Glen Echo Recreation Area. Could I have a motion?
Motion to recommend approval to town meeting for Article 11.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Discussion? Donna?
Yes.
John? Cynthia says yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Winchell?
Yes.
Could I have a motion to close the meeting of municipal operations?
Motion to close municipal operations meeting.
Second?
Second.
Donna?
Yes.
John? Cynthia says yes. Scott?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Winchell?
Yes.
All right, the municipal operations portion is completed with the gratitude of the chair for having a quorum from the beginning. So thank you, members. We'll see you at town meeting. Have a pleasant evening, and thank you for the courtesy from municipal regulations.
Yes, thank you all for indulging our joint public hearings. Appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
And all the members of municipal operations. Appreciate that. Thank you. John Rock, you want to take over as chair?
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, committee members. Thank you to the public. You saved the best committee for last. So I guess motion to open the public hearing of the municipal regulations.
So moved.
So do the roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. John? Yes. David?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Full house.
Yeah. We are the best ones.
We are. We have a lot of fun in this committee. It's a rowdy bunch. So I think it's Article 1 that we'll first consider, the sunset bylaw amendment. So if the presenter will introduce herself and proceed with her presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My name's Elizabeth Zaleski. I'm the Finance Director for the town of Stoughton. And the reason we're doing the sunset bylaw is in May of 2023, Article 70, there was a petition article submitted by Mr. Murphy requesting that the town sunset articles. And the way that the sunset article was written, it put a lot of restrictions on what we needed to do. So currently, the town council has rewritten the law, so our restrictions are a little bit different. We got full approval with Mr. Murphy involved in the process, so we're just rewriting that bylaw that we need to do. And it simplifies the process going forward.
So are there any changes in what you've written down here from the previous sunset law?
Peter Murphy, Precinct 2. Peter Murphy, Precinct 2.
Okay, board recognizes Peter Murphy.
Thank you. The sunset clause, as was approved before, it went and it was not in a legal format. And that's why last year at town meeting, it became questioned whether or not it was viable. That's why we had to amend, or the town amended every article to be excluded from the sunset clause. Since then, I have worked very diligently with the town attorney. I've worked with Biz as far as rewriting that. And it's basically, if you look at it, it's put into a legal format. So the spirit of the law has stayed the same. There's no changes in that. There may be a few spelling corrections or punctuations, but again, it's more to put it in a legal format. In essence, it's the same sunset clause and still holds the same credentials.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Go ahead.
Is this something that the town attorney has to get involved with or verify?
Yes, he was he and I worked very diligently on this, along with Biz, and again, to satisfy everybody. They also, I believe, went to bond counsel to make sure it would stand up to their recommendations. So it's been vetted through everybody.
All right, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions from members of the committee? David?
Thank you. Certainly seems like a good idea. Do other towns do this or anything similar?
Other towns do it a little bit differently. Each year, your special articles would be reviewed with the town accountant, finance director, and the different department heads to see whether or not they have completed the work on the article. Do they need to keep the article open? And if so, they have to prove that they need to keep it open. And if they can prove they keep it open, that stays open. Otherwise, it goes to town meeting to close. So there is a process. I understand why the petition came through, because with my reconciliation of all these projects, which took quite a bit of time, one of the projects go back to 1998. So cleaning up these projects will make life easier going forward for anybody who's working in the accounting department. It will also take away the question of, well, where do we get that money from? Because we're going to clear them up, we're going to make it clean, we're going to make it neat, and we'll follow the bylaw as written. So it does happen in other communities.
Maybe just a quick follow-up. So this kind of automates in Stoughton what needs to be done manually in other towns, for example?
No, it does not automate the system, but it makes it easier for us to track. So if I look, when we come up in May, there's a number of articles that we're going to need to review that will be sunsetting in June of 2025. So we're going to want to start looking at some of those articles as we go forward, but it's a trigger mechanism. So you can stop and say, all right, we want to extend this or we want to close this. And as we get further into the town meeting, when we do get to town meeting, you'll see a number of articles we'll be closing via town meeting, just to clamp the books and acquiesce to what was requested.
So what, can you remind us then, what triggers the sunsetting?
The bylaw itself states what triggers the sunsetting. So appropriations $250,000 less, which is on the first page, section 43-3. That states anything $250,000 or less will have a sunset of approval of 3 years starting the first day of the fiscal year following the day the article is approved, unless stipulated as part of the article. Some of our articles do go out beyond 3 years, so we would have to say exempted from the bylaw, should that be the case. And approved fund spending must be initiated prior to the end of the third year. Spending must be completed prior to the end of the fourth year. And that's for everything under $250,000. There's more language in there. The second part is our appropriations and borrowing over $250,000, they as well have a trigger point where you can go 4 years to initiate the borrowing, and you have up to 5 years to complete the spending on that. And if we want to expand before, if we know, like a road project that is being done, that could take 5 years to do the road project. So something like that, we would exempt at town meeting via motion, so we can continue on with the project without stopping a project. I think one of the most, the big changes here is on page number 3, which references Mass General Law 4420, which allows that the select board can approve that any borrowing remaining that's under $50,000, they can vote via select board meeting to take that funding that we're not going to use and apply it to the outstanding debt. So that's a big thing too. It's a big trigger point, so we can just get rid of some of our debt that's out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, the point that the reason this came about was going through town meeting over the years. There was lots and lots of money sitting on the books that we're paying interest on, and we kept borrowing money to do other projects or whatever. So this actually frees up that money. And as far as it's balancing the checkbook is what it boils down to. So.
Any other questions from committee members? How about the general public as it remains? I see we've lost a few people. Okay, hearing none. Can I, do we move to the next one, or, okay. So let's move to the next article, which is article number, what is it? 8?
Yes, that's correct.
Tax and excise collections. Are you going to present on that also?
Yes, sir.
If you could introduce yourself again.
Certainly. My name is Elizabeth Zaleski. I'm the finance director for the town of Stoughton. And this is a request from our treasurer collector. Several years ago, the town voted one part of a law, but they didn't vote the other part of the law. So this is basically a housekeeping article, which it will allow us to, items that are in tax lien, such as trash bills. This is specific to trash bills. When we go to lien those, what's happening is we have to pay. We have roughly 1,200 accounts outstanding for trash lien. We have to pay $100, $104 per lien registry with the Registry of Deeds, when some bills are only outstanding at $94. So what this is going to allow us to do is combine any liens for water, sewer, trash, taxes, etc., into one bill with the Registry of Deeds, which will only be a $104 fee versus multiple $104 fees. So it's tax savings to the community, it's time saver to the town, and it just helps us organize our taxes better.
Anything else from the town?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep.
Are there any questions from members of the committee?
Yes,
Good.
quick question. So when are you actually doing that? Are you doing that once a year, fiscal year, or when is that actually taking place?
It will come into play after it's voted at town meeting, and tax liens are typically once a year.
Once a year?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the committee? And if you'll identify yourselves.
Brian Butler, Precinct 2. When these items are bundled, do they remain itemized?
Of course, yes. Everything still remains itemized, so Trash goes to trash, which is general fund. Sewer goes to sewer, which is its own enterprise fund. Same thing with water and same thing with taxation. They're all separate.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the committee? How about from the general public?
Someone online, Mr. Rock, Marina?
Oh, anybody online?
Marina, just unmute yourself and identify
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes, thank you so much. Can you give us some numbers to compare how much you're paying to the fees for the individually whoever? So the difference between what you're paying right now and what you're asking, the numbers and how much is going to be the savings, approx, please.
What technically will be happening is when we place a lien on a property, it'll be a single lien for everything. The way we are operating right now, the way it was voted several years ago, is we would have a separate lien filing fee just for the trash. So it's a combination of everything into one lien value instead of two. So we'd be saving, and it basically comes down to the taxpayer, ratepayer in the end. It's $104 per deed filing, just for trash.
Okay, and I would assume you have a year, right, per deed. So it's going to be, what, 1,000, let's say, for the single deed, like water, property, or trash, correct? So the saving will be in thousands.
As long as everything's combined together, which this will actually allow us to do, it will be one fee of $104. And the way it's written now, everything would go on to the deed lien except for trash. Trash would be a separate deed requirement. So what we're doing is trying to get the deed requirements all into one. So rather than paying $204, we'd be paying $104. And the cost ultimately goes back to the person who's in lien. They're required to pay the cost.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the committee? Hearing none. General public? Hearing none. Let's go on to the next article, which is Article
Mr. Chair, it'd be Article 9.
Article 9, okay. Assessment of new construction. And is that you again?
Yes, sir. Elizabeth Zaleski, Finance Director for the Town of
Why
Stoughton.
change? You're doing a good job so far.
Thank you. Typically, we'll have the town attorney speak to this at town meeting, but the general plan here is by law, we're allowed to, as of January 1st, let's say you're building a commercial building, and you're more than halfway through the project, it's 50% completed, we can tax up to that 50% completed as of January 1st. So we'll be able to collect tax revenue 6 months earlier than what we normally would. And that's the general premise of this. And it's on new construction, be it residential, commercial, things like that.
Okay. Questions from the committee? I'll open with one. So how is that different than now?
Right now, we aren't allowed to do that. There's two separate sections of the law. I may not get them exactly correct. One is 2240, I think it's sections 22A and 20D that fall into play within this law. Please don't hold me to the sections of the law. But right now, we don't do it, so we're losing tax revenue is what we're doing. So if we go out, this is just an example. I don't know these people, but the building across the street, they're definitely halfway through the construction process. So as of January 1st, we'll be able to tax them. And although there's no occupancy permit yet, we can still tax based on the construction to date or construction in progress.
Is that, it seems like, so that'll raise more money for the town, is that correct? Is that
Yes, sir.
kind of the
Yes.
premise of it? I wonder what kind of burden it is on the taxpayer. Currently, they're just paying taxes on the land, is that it?
I believe so, but when you're in the middle of a project, let's say the project stops. We put a halt on the project, developer goes down, that still allows us to tax them for the construction in progress. So that if they go into bankruptcy, et cetera, we can put that lien on, and it gives us the ability to collect on the construction in progress as the projects go through.
And just one last question by me. Is this standard procedure in other towns?
Yes, this was a law that was adopted many, many years ago, but we're trying to complete the process with the laws that we need to do.
Okay, I'm going to open it up for committee members.
Bob Desmond, I had a question.
Go ahead, Bob.
Where does that responsibility lie? Is that with the building department, or is that the treasurer? Who's going to make that determination at 50%?
It's a combination between the building department, wiring, et cetera, depending on how far they are through the permits. And Mark, please. Okay. So it depends on how far they are through the permits, because every time a section of a building project gets done, it has to be signed off on. And that building permit becomes a legal document within the assessor's office. So the assessor's office is the one who assesses the taxes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Sir, just a point of clarity. The answer that I would give to that last question is almost every town in the Commonwealth does it the way we're adopting it now. Proposing to town meeting, the town meeting adopt it now. What Stoughton, for some reason, has done for close to 15 years is adopt only half of the statute. So what that means is January 1st is when you give the appraisal or the value on the property. So if you're 99.9% done, but no occupancy permit on December 1st, you don't bill it again till the following year. So we go an entire year without that revenue stream. So we're not looking to invoice or tax that property like the hole in the ground at full value. But when it's at least a half to 3/4 done, be able to, on January 1st, bill them for half of that property. There's been a substantial lost opportunity cost of lost revenue because we, for whatever reason, never adopted the second part of that statute. This will clean that up and put us on par with, I'm going to guess, and I can research it to be exact, probably 90% of the other 351 cities and towns across the Commonwealth.
Well, thank you, sir. So questions from the committee? If you introduce yourself.
Peter Machula, Precinct 5. So just to get my head around this, basically it's just to allow us to properly update the taxes, because currently we're losing, 12, 18 months of taxable value at this point, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I did an industrial project, Peter, through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. I did an industrial project myself 9 years ago and went 18 months without having to pay taxes, not because I skirted them, but because I was 95% done on January 1st. They couldn't, in their town, bill me until it was 100% done. So I got billed the following January. I didn't see the first bill until the following June, second quarter. And it's not fair to us right now, but it will be inevitably fair to them. They may not like the change, but it will be fair. They'll be billed on what's in place.
And that goes for residential properties also, like a single-family home? Okay. Any other questions from the committee?
If I could, Bob Desmond again, just a quick question, if the town manager would. I know we purchased building software to update the building department. Could you give us an update as to where that stands?
I need to turn that over to Mark Bob. He's coming up now.
Okay.
That's it.
Hey, Bob, how are you, sir?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Mark Tisdale here. Thanks for the question, because it's actually a good time to kind of tell the public. We're aiming for October 21st for our live date for the building department module in e-permitting. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
So that will be the first phase of e-permitting, and then, other departments will soon follow.
Great. I appreciate the update.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the committee? Go ahead.
Dave Billow, Precinct 4. Maybe more of a comment. Mentioning the building across the street. Any project could teeter on the edge of profitability, so it's not just like, free money the town is necessarily missing out on. It could affect the ability or the decision for a developer or a builder to build. So, the answer that 90% of the other towns are doing it the way that's being proposed. If we're just leveling the playing field, that sounds fine, but if this went through 2 years ago and it prevented the building across the street, so-called, from being built, that I don't think we would have maybe
The
wanted
building across the street
propose
is strictly
that, but-
hypothetical.
Right.
But most communities adopted this in 1989, when the law was first allowed. And it's chapter 650, make sure I'm reading the right one, 653, section 40 of 1989. So a lot of communities adopted it once it was allowed to be adopted. So we're just a little bit behind the 8 ball in adopting some of these things. It's not to prevent businesses from coming to town and being profitable, but it's also to allow the town to capture taxes. As Mr. Coulter said, if it's 95% complete on December 31st, right now we cannot bill it into the following December. But if it's 95 complete as of January 1st, we can bill up to 95% of the allowable taxation. So we're not losing a year's worth of income.
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up with what Biz said, I did speak to a couple of developers about this, and they actually, it's pretty SOP, standard operating practice, for them to roll this into their development costs. So if we're not doing this, it's actually extra profit in their pocket.
Which isn't all bad.
Right. Either ways, hey.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, Joe Piana, Precinct 6. So 50%, this would kick in? Completion?
I believe it is at 50% and above. Okay. So yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Joe, I have to apologize for not, I'm sorry, all right, well, I'm sorry, all right. Public comments, questions? You want to introduce yourself? Most people know who you are.
Thank you. Peter Murphy, Precinct 2. 2 questions I have. The first question is, you keep stipulating January, so this would not go into effect until January 2026. Am I correct?
If we adopt this in November, I believe it may become effective as of the bills on January 1st, but we can confirm that prior to town meeting.
Of 2025.
2025, correct?
25. Oh, okay. So the other question is, does this also include revisions or additions to a piece of property if they're going to renovate?
It would only include building permits, as it states here, I believe, for assessment of new construction. So it's new construction only. So if you're renovating your house, it wouldn't have an impact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, I think we'll proceed to voting on the various articles.
Mr. Chair, you just have to close the public hearing.
Okay,
With a
do I have a
motion.
motion to close the public hearing?
So made.
Second? Okay, I'll go through the roll call.
Could I just ask for the record, who made the motion? Brian Butler, who seconded it? Michael Hodman? Okay, just so when the secretary types it up, we'll know. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll go through the roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. John? Yes. David?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Marina? Marina?
Yes.
Michael? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we'll consider Article 1, the sunset article first. And if I can have a motion to recommend.
Acceptance to town meeting.
Right. What he said. Okay. So the motion to recommend acceptance at town meeting has been made. I'll run through the roll call and you can say yes or no. Robert?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. John? Yes. David?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And we want to thank Mr. Murphy for his diligence on this. Way to stick with it, Peter. So next, let's move to Article number 8, which is the tax and excise collections. If I can have a motion to recommend acceptance.
Move that the committee recommend to town meeting to accept this article.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll run through the roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. John? Yes. David?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along, Article number 9, assessment of new construction. So if I can have a motion to recommend for acceptance. Somebody can make the motion?
Second.
Okay. So I'll run through the roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. John? Yes. David?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
We're a very agreeable group. So that concludes our business. I take a vote to adjourn.
Did you do Article 11?
Oh, Article 11, sorry.
Article 11, they just did 9.
Yep.
Article 11.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. If I can have a motion to recommend Article 11 for acceptance. The recreational conservation restriction for Glen Echo.
Move that the committee recommend this article for acceptance by town meeting.
Second.
Okay. Roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. John? Yes. David?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
All right, we're still agreeable. So I believe that concludes our business, and entertain a motion to
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second? Okay, roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. John? Yes. David?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Matthew? Yes. Marina?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Okay, and does that mean I'm still the chair?
I believe so.
Since it
Did a
didn't
great
come
job,
up?
Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
All right, I mean,
Thank
You know.
you. Thank you all. Municipal
who am I
Regulations Committee.
to, you know,
You guys did a great job.
all right, thanks, everybody.
Everybody online, thank you very much. Bob Desmond, thank you. And everybody else, all the other committee members that are no longer on, but we want to just thank everybody for participating in the joint public hearings. I think it works.
Yep.
We got it all done this
Yeah,
evening.
thanks, everybody, and
Thank you.
thanks, Bob.
Thank you
and
to SMAC
Cynthia.
also, Chris in the recording
See
room.
you in another year for the next Muni Regs meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.